Hey music fans, as a roadie I had this great opportunity to tour with all these bands. I wrote a book about my experiences on the road and it was the #1 new release on Amazon and Bios and it's now sold millions of copies on Kindle. I'm Joel Roadie and this is my podcast, Party Like a Rock Star. So there's a band who I've become immersed with. I'm very into lately, right? I really like them. Like Atarashi Gakko.
Oh yes, yep.
OTONABLUE.
All right, I don't know this song.
Oh, cool. All right, let's jump into that one. This is good stuff. This was a total luxury for me. You know, a lot of you guys, I'm gonna say criticize me, but that sounds kind of mean. So a lot of you guys said to me, you know, I really need to know more about the acts that I have on my channel, so when guests ask me questions, I know all about them. Well, it's hard. I react to a lot of people. I got a lot going on, and I don't know a lot about them. And so I said, hey, I came out video, and I said, hey, if any of you super fans could clue me into some of the guests that I react to and inform me, that would be great. With no misinformation, please. No misinformation. I try to boost these people. Anyway, the luxury part, what was really cool, was Ladybeard reached out back to me and said, hey, I'll tell you about me. And I was like, oh, wow. So it was very exciting for me. I'm a very big Ladybeard fan. I hope you are too. If you're unfamiliar with Ladybeard, treat yourself, indulge. Very, very talented person. You can learn more about Ladybeard in Ladybeard's band, Babybeard. You can find Babybeard information at Babybeard_Japan, or if you want to learn more about Ladybeard, you can do so at Ladybeard_Japan. Something else that's really cool, if you're not already watching Ladybeard's podcast, you should definitely jump into the mix and do so. It's good stuff I've been watching. And you can find Ladybeard's podcast at Cat with Beard on YouTube. Guys, thank you ever so much. I hope everybody enjoys these as much as I do. He is, of course, here in my next segment of Road Dogs and Rock Gods. Let's see what my new friend here, Ladybeard, has to say. Let's do this. Okay, this is Atarashi Gakko, and I selected this for you because I really like your dancing, and the choreography and all of the stuff that these ladies do is just so good. All so right. I am very eager to hear what you have to say. So let's jump into this track.
They're doing very well in Japan at the moment. They are having their moment. They're getting a lot of airtime all over the place.
They are. Okay, good to know. I think it's well-deserved, so cool. Let's see what's going on. Let's give it a go.
All right. Um, so, all right. So, I'm going to talk as if I'm an expert on something that I'm not an expert on. So, prepare yourself for that. So,
All right.
it's very interesting for me to watch them. Like, I see these girls everywhere. They're really everywhere at the moment in Japan. So, I see them all over the place, but I haven't really sat down to properly go through their songs a whole lot. Yeah. So, it's very interesting as a concept because on the surface, it looks to me kind of like it's four girls who sort of met at like design school or something and said, "Let's make a band." It's just, the whole thing looks like someone who went to design school put it together. You know what I'm saying? But there is going to be all right. So one of the reasons I believe that they're doing well in Japan is so the music, of course, is this 80s pop music, yeah, or 80s inspired pop music. So for us as Westerners, we hear that and we just go, "Oh, it's 80s. Oh, Japanese girls doing some interesting, weird things." Ha! And that's sort of the end of it, right?
Okay.
For the Japanese, that period in time, like the 80s and the start of the 90s, that was their economic bubble. So that was, in modern terms, that was Japan's golden age. So therefore, for the Japanese consumer, this would be kind of a different product for them from what it is for us as Westerners, because it's a throwback to when Japan was really on the up and the up and the up. After, after 1945, when the place was rubble, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be culturally, I think this would be yeah, tell you what, you got to get on a Japanese person to react to this because I'm talking like an expert about something that I'm not an expert on. And so I can react to it from a superficial standpoint and I can say, "Yep, interesting dance, girls, funny faces. All right, cool, good job." But it's you should get on a Japanese person to react to that because it's actually going to go a lot deeper than that. And I think that is probably why this group is doing well at the moment.
Very interesting. I hear a lot of jazz elements.
Jazz, that's interesting. It sounds
I
to me
really
like
did.
a lot of 80s. Give me 1 second to look towards my manager. Did I just offend anyone with what I just said?
I don't think so. But I think you're all like 45% accurate.
Yes, exactly. So my manager just said you're 45% accurate. So, like I just said, I'm talking like an expert on something I'm not an expert on. So you should bring on a Japanese person or Japanese artist to react to them because they're going to have a perspective that I can't give you and that no one who's not Japanese can give you.
I'm intrigued now. That's cool. Okay, neat.
You're saying something, but you want to react?
No.
Yeah, tell us what you think.
No, good. So I was gonna say that like you can do any the dropping of your inspiration as a foreigner who lives in Japan.
Wait, say again.
You can say anything from the foreigner's perspective, especially foreigner who live in Japan for 10 years.
Okay, sure. All right. So she's saying, well, that's the impression of a foreigner who's lived in Japan for 10 years. But
well, that's it. We all have our different ways of
different
of
perspectives from which we look at that. Do you have a Japanese perspective you want to share?
I mean, yeah, but like for in terms of what kind of perspective, like I can talk about their costumes because that represents the generation that they're trying to bring again.
Mm-hmm.
But if you haven't lived in Japan, it's kind of hard to explain it because it's all like comes down to new way plus nostalgia, and I have to explain the whole like the trend right now, like we have right now in Japan, because we have a trend which is like bring back the almost the 90s, 80s, 90s trend again. So it is it's not only about the music but also about the fashion. Now we have the trend that we like, especially someone born in like after 19, so like 2000 millennial generation and after millennial generation, who is now like in teenagers, they are trying to experience some of the Showa and Heisei, early Heisei generations vibes, and and that is now trending in Japan. And then they pop like actually this song I think that was made like a few years ago, and then after the few years, this song became popular because that matched the trend we have right now.
Oh, how interesting! The song's a few years old, but then it went on, and then as the trend caught up to it, they kind of met perfectly, and that's kind of when it got famous a few years after release. Isn't that interesting?
Interesting. Yeah, you know, sometimes most of the time, I just listen to music at face value, and I don't think this deep on it. And it's cool. It's a very interesting perspective. So thank
that
you.
Was that was an academic approach to react.
It was, yeah, and I totally didn't see that coming. So it's neat.
I mean, I have to tell you, this being in my position, so much of when I'm asked to comment on Japan or Japanese stuff, it breaks down into this because sort of I can kind of see the Japanese perspective. And it's partly as well because I've sat here for 10 years going, so explain to me this thing and these costumes, and to Japanese people who've explained the whole thing. And I'm like, oh, but then why did that? Oh. And so then that means, oh, no, that's wrong. Oh, I see. So I partly have 10 years of having it kind of explained to me and living in Japan and kind of feeling it as such.
Yeah.
But still at the same time, I'm not Japanese and I'm never going to be Japanese, so I can't properly get it. And at the same time, I can also observe it as an outsider. So it's a real interesting perspective, I guess. So anytime I'm asked to react to Japanese stuff, I get extremely academic.
Yeah, fair enough. It's interesting. All right, then why don't we jump over to Australia?
Hey, all right.
Have we heard of a gentleman named Paul Kelly?
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, let's jump into one of Paul Kelly's tracks, and you can let me know what you think.
All right, here we go.
Hey, the podcast is over. What are you still doing here? Well, while you're here, like and subscribe. Thanks.